HRN listeners. As we celebrate our 15th year, we are deepening our commitment to giving voice to the next generation of food systems storytellers, and we need your help. Our internship and fellowship programs help activate new possibilities for underrepresented and underestimated young people through experiential journalism, audio engineering, and production training. Through these unique programs, HRN helps food equity stewards build essential workforce readiness skills that expand their potential and foster economic mobility. Please consider supporting these critical programs. And with a minimum donation, you can be entered to win a dinner for two at an amazing restaurant in one of 8 cities and tickets to a concert at a great venue in one of those cities. We have incredible partners across the country who have donated, as they also share our passion for helping to educate the next generation of food systems storytellers. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. And make sure you donate before March 31st. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Chefs Collaborative, a nonprofit with a mission to inspire, educate, and celebrate chefs and food professionals building a better food system. Change menus, change lives. Learn more at chefscollaborative.org.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network. We're a member-supported food radio network broadcasting over 35 weekly shows live from Bushwick, Brooklyn. Join our hosts as they lead you through the world of craft brewing, behind the scenes of the restaurant industry, inside the battle over school food, and beyond. Find us at heritageradionetwork.org.
Welcome to the Grape Nation, your weekly wine journey. Our guest is Marissa Ross, author of the new book, Wine All the Time, The Casual Guide to Confident Drinking. We'll talk to Marissa about the book, understanding, enjoying, and drinking more wine. We'll taste a sparkler, I'm not going to say what, to celebrate Marissa's new book for our weekly wine sip. I'm your host, Sam Ben-Ruby. Stay with us for the Grape Nation on the Heritage Radio Network. We bring wine to the people. All right, Marissa Ross is a self-proclaimed leisure enthusiast, of course, from Southern California. She is a writer, award-winning blogger, humorist, and the wine columnist for Bon Appetit magazine. Marissa has written for Savor, Elle, Man Repeller, Pitchfork, and Vice Munchies. Her new book, Wine All the Time, A Casual Guide to Confident Drinking, was just released this week.
Yeah.
Technically tomorrow, Wednesday?
Technically Tuesday.
So and this is
yesterday.
Tuesday, but we'll be on Wednesday. All right, welcome to the show, Marissa. Very excited to have you on. I've been a fanboy, a fan and a follower of yours, and when the book came to fruition, I thought it'd be great to have you on.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
So for you to frame who you are to our listeners, I want you to give us a little background about your journey in life and wine that got you to where you are, which is publishing and promoting a book. But let's talk about the wine part when we talk about the book. But you have an interesting background. I want people to know about that.
Yeah, so I dropped out of college and moved to LA. I'm from Southern California, so it wasn't too far. And I moved to Los Angeles to pursue a career in comedy. I wanted to be a comedy writer and actor. And, you know, I did a lot of storytelling shows and all these things. And I had a personal blog that was, I guess, kind of my attempt at like Seinfeldian humor, being like, oh, like if I can make fun of my everyday life, I can make comedy.
Non-wine related
at that point. But there was a lot of wine involved because I would just drink wine while writing it.
Right.
So I became kind of known for being this wino comedy person. And then my love of wine, I guess, took over.
It was such a part of the writing in your life then.
Yeah, it was a huge part of my life. And I started this wine comedy web series called Wine Time, where I would review wines under $10. And after 10 of those, I realized that all wines under $10 from the grocery store pretty much taste the same. And so I started a website called Wine All the Time that no one read, that was just my reviews of wine and my exploration of those. And it was sort of my self-education for, 5 years or so.
And at that time, you were drinking crappy $2 Chuck, but you were evolving to the $10 threshold,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. Well, by the time I started Wine All the Time, I had been drinking a little bit better. I was drinking more like $10 wines or above that.
But there's a little more going on there. You had a job.
I had a job. I had like 3 jobs.
What was your coolest job?
I was Mindy Kaling's personal assistant for 5 years. So
Which
that
is
was
a long time for any job.
Yeah,
even
or 4.5 years. Yeah. It was a long time. It was a very interesting. But like during that time, I also was, I was one of those people that just had 3 jobs from the moment I moved to Los Angeles just to stay alive. So, I was walking dogs and I worked in an ocarina factory and like I did all this weird shit and just to try to make it in comedy. And now I write about wine.
So you got to Mindy because you were interested in humor and comedy. So that was a cool job, you figure.
Yeah.
Did being with her shape your thinking at all or give you direction?
Definitely. I mean, it was interesting because I wasn't really with her very often. Like I was her personal assistant. So
Picking up
I was
dry cleaning.
Yeah. So I was at her house most of the time, but she really shaped me in terms of, I always had, I think, a strong work ethic. Like I've always been a hustler and just really, I feel have worked hard. But she kind of showed me how hard you have to work in order to make it in Hollywood. And I was like, holy shit, this is going to be a lot of work. And I was okay with that. But
so it's funny, somebody who's incredibly funny, clever, doesn't teach you the humor part, but the ethics of what you really have to do.
She's an incredible writer. I mean, she's an absolute comedy genius. I don't know if I know that people know that, but I don't think people realize that I've never met anyone that can just transform she's a beautiful mind.
So in those 4.5 years, you had started Wine All the Time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So during that period of time, you're working on the blog?
I was working and I was writing comedy scripts. At the time I had started like actually trying to sell pilots and was writing a lot of comedy.
How'd that go?
Well, obviously it went great considering I'm not a comedy writer and I never sold a pilot. But I was doing the meetings and I was doing everything I thought I needed to do to be a success in comedy. And then what would happen is at night, the way that I would release myself, that sounds a little like I'm jerking off. Maybe I was too. But anyways, moving forward, I would, to relax basically and get my mind off of things, I would just open a bottle of wine and write about it. And that was how I not dealt with my life. That sounds like alcoholism, but that's how I ended my day.
But it's funny because you didn't really know any better early on. You just knew that there was wine out there. You can get it for a few bucks. You'd get a buzz.
Yeah.
I mean, was it as simple as that?
I mean,
did you know that you talk about in the book, your dad was, the classic California Cabernet guy at the barbecue. So you were exposed to that.
I was exposed to it, yeah.
But you couldn't afford it. And
and for me, I mean, I think that it was like a cheap way to get a buzz, but also too, for me, it did represent, this was when I started drinking wine, it was like in the middle of, it was like 2008, I guess. So it was like right around the time when our recession was, going on. And, it, in a weird way, it kind of reminded me of like happier, better times. Like it was more than just a buzz because it was like, there was a memory of happier moments in life when I wasn't like living in a shoebox with like a heroin addict in Los Angeles.
So you're working with Mindy, you're writing the blog. I guess 2 quick questions. When do you leave? What year, Mindy? And when do you focus on the blog and that sort of becomes your life? Like, hey, how do I figure this out?
You know what? It didn't really happen that way, which is what makes people really mad. I think that
I'm not mad.
Thank you.
I'm more curious.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are like, she just showed up overnight, which is kind of true.
No, that wasn't the intent of my question.
No,
it was
I know,
more
no.
timeline.
But so the timeline of it was crazy because I didn't really start focusing on wine until, fully until after in February of 2015.
So only a couple of years ago. Hardcore.
Because what happened, Grub Street profiled me, and then it was like overnight. I went from like no one giving me the time of day in Los Angeles to having all these literary agents and publishers read my writing. So
Grub Street is the online site for New York Magazine.
Yes.
And they noticed all your fun and ramblings.
Yeah.
And they figured, hey, let's reach out to her and see what her story is. They publish a story, and that's what you allude to.
Yeah.
That got exposure for you.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That is crazy.
It was really crazy. I mean, and it's not that I wasn't...
What year was that?
That was 2015.
That was 2015.
So February 2015. And then I quit Mindy in May of 2015.
Okay.
And I sold the book in June 2015.
God.
And then I got hired at Bon Appetit in December 2015. So it went from, being this hobby that I really, really loved, and I did I actually haven't been able to really write on my blog the last 2 years because, I've been writing about wine elsewhere.
So when you signed to do the book, you had the concept? I mean, had you written... the contents, or
was. I mean,
you had an idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to write a proposal. It wasn't like a total fairy tale where it was just like,
I knew it wasn't that.
No, I put together a book proposal, and I was just like, okay, how can I take? I know that I can't sell a book about my wine reviews. Like I've already given that away for free. That's not what I can do. But what I can do is show people that they can learn about wine too. Like I taught myself.
All right, so let's get into that now.
Yeah.
We're going to shift towards the book. All right, so this is sort of a setup question, and I guess it begs to be asked.
Yeah.
And it's how the hell or how the F does someone with no formal wine experience and background have the balls to write a book telling people how to drink, understand, and enjoy wine? And the reason I ask you that is because I know you have the right answer, and I want you to...
It's because I do have the balls.
That's part of it.
I mean, here's... I mean, quite frankly, I was offered an opportunity. I know it's pretty arrogant of me, but I was offered an opportunity, and you got to keep in mind that I was picking up dry cleaning for 4.5 years. So I was like, fuck it. Like, you know what? If I can teach myself all about wine... I can help other people learn about wine in a way that's more digestible and fun. And you know what? If this is being offered to me because of my writing that I did from my heart and my passion for it, fuck it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
You were confident at the moment? You weren't how... There was a little of how am I going to figure this out, but you had a vision?
Yeah, I had a vision, and I wanted to do it, and I said, fuck it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. This is... I've been working my ass off. I've been trying so hard to sell a show or be in comedy, and I'd done everything I was supposed to do, right? And that didn't get me anywhere. So this was like, hey, the universe is offering me a wonderful opportunity. I love wine. I can now focus on something I obviously really, really love. It wasn't like I was loving writing comedy scripts at that point. I was drudging through them, hating myself, trying to write new pilots. My agent being like, you need to write let's write a workplace comedy. And I like what you did here, but maybe instead of having a female lead, let's have 2 male protagonists and blah, 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 blah. And so then it's like, Marissa, do you want to write about this thing that you love so much that you do every night, no matter how tired you are, and it brings you so much joy? So I said, fuck yes. I have the balls to do this. I'm going to take this opportunity.
And a couple things. It's very experiential, obviously.
Yes.
And you said somewhere I picked up that, it was the book you wish you had 5 years earlier.
Yeah.
It would have helped you in that period of wine drinking time. So
totally.
Everyone should keep in mind it's that type of book.
It is that type of book. I think that if you know a lot about wine, you may find it still humorous and fun to read.
Well, let's talk about the book. So there's a lot of how-to in the book.
Yep.
But I read the book, and I think the difference is it's got a lot of heart. It's a very contemporary view. And there's a sense of humor that you don't find in wine. Wine could be very nerdy and technical. I was like, what's this guy talking about? Forest floor, So it the book really talks about, your journey in wine. I mean, it shows
Yeah.
how you evolve. You talk about in the beginning and the end. So now let's talk about your evolution, in wine. So we talked about it a little. You got
Yeah.
into wine sort of on your own while you were working.
Yeah.
But how did it progress? I mean, there was more of a progression than what we talked about.
Yes. So what happened was, I was doing these wine reviews and on video for fun. I took it very seriously, because the thing about comedy is what makes comedy funny is that the person performing it is taking themselves seriously. Like Bill Murray, for example, in Caddyshack, like the reason he's like, it's so funny that he's trying to kill that gopher is because he's genuinely trying to do it,
Right.
So when I was doing these wine reviews, I was genuinely doing the wine reviews and really, but coming from like I said, I had no experience in it. But then I realized as I started drinking other wines, I realized I really just enjoyed finding those things in a wine. And as a writer and as a creative, I just felt that these bottles were kind of telling me a story in a way, and like were giving me sort of like, I sort of think of them as like a vase to fill, like they were kind of giving me a medium in order for me to be creative and write. And I just loved them. And as I started, buying wines from like wine shops rather than the grocery store.
But where were the influences? There had to be a couple of people that said, you got to try this, you got to pay a little more.
Yeah, well, no, what happened was no one ever said that to me, but what happened, no, it was Corey Cartwright, who is the co-founder of Selection Masal.
Great line of wines.
Wonderful wines. He started following me on Twitter, and I was like, this importer. I'm like, all right, like this is weird because I just think I'm being.
So
funny.
The relationship started on Twitter,
kind of, yeah. And
not
then
in a wine store, not
well, then
an
I
introduction.
went, yeah,
but that came
Twitter,
later.
yeah. And then I went to a tasting of his at Domaine LA in Los Angeles.
Did that open your eyes?
Yes, and then that was like when I was like, holy shit, wines can taste like this. This is incredible. And so I then started seeking things out, and I started going to tastings regularly. And
did you know of or anything about some of those wines, or you just weren't thinking about it?
No.
So that was really your first foray into it.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, to me, I just loved how they tasted, and I just wanted to talk about it. I just wanted to, and then as I started writing about these wines, I would start, because then I started taking it more seriously because I loved the wines. They weren't jokes to me. Like it wasn't a $2 wine that I wanted to like, call like trash juice from Jesus or whatever.
Right.
Like whatever. So then as I started taking the bottles more seriously because I actually enjoyed them and loved them, I started doing a lot of research and reading and it just
was that a little obsessive? Like,
yeah,
you just spent all your time
yeah,
boning up on this, learning more, but a real curiosity.
Yeah. So, for every bottle I opened, I would just research it for, I'd drink it and I'd be like, why does it taste this way? And then, you find out about Brett or like whatever, and you just get deeper and deeper and deeper. And then it was obsessive. It still is obsessive.
Does your interest and awareness sort of increase your presence on social media or your blogging? I mean, does it get you enthusiastic?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean,
So there was an upturn in, what you were doing.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there was definitely a shift. I didn't mean for there to be a shift.
Yeah.
But it definitely, like...
It was a natural thing.
Yeah, people started being
more wine, good wine, more excited.
Yeah, I couldn't help it. And it just... Especially, and then once I got into natural wines, I just would. I
want to talk about natural wines in a few minutes, but let me ask you this. I mean, like I said, I read the book. I think anyone can benefit from this book.
Well,
I think it's a real primer. But because I have you here, I want to know if your intention or in the back of your mind, is this a book that was skewed towards millennials? Necessarily, not necessarily?
I'm sure it is skewed towards millennials, but I don't know if that was necessarily that wasn't a conscious thought of mine.
Right.
I just sort of, I mean, for me, I just thought about...
That's your style, though.
Yeah, it's my style of writing.
Because you are.
Yeah, because I'm a millennial.
Right.
Whoops.
Right.
I was born in that time that everyone hates now.
Right. Well, don't say that.
Hey, have you not read any...
But you said that, and I guess a fair question is... we're both pretty tuned into wine. How do you think millennials have sort of changed, wine? I mean, I can answer that. I want to hear what you think. there's a presence in the wine world with millennials, their habits, their likes, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Actually, I mean, I don't really know how they. I see these, statistics of like millennials are drinking more wine than ever, but I also think that those statistics are skewed because there's more wine available in the United States than there ever has been before, and
True.
Our wine culture is very young and compared to most of Europe and things like that. So I don't know. I think that the millennial wine thing. I have a lot of thoughts about it that go. I don't know.
I think price is an issue. I don't think they want to spend a ton of money. I think you sincerely sort of, indicated that. I think attention span, maybe. And I also think maybe there's more of an interest and focus towards natural wines.
I think so, too.
Which is a good thing for everything.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. But in the book, there's a lot of stuff. There's a wine glossary, how wine is made. I mean, you really get into, the cool stuff that rounds out the book. Tasting, buying, entertaining. You talk about varietals, regions, and all of that. But there's a hilarious chapter towards the end of the book called Drinking Wine in the Real World. Hard to say that 5 times fast. Talk to me a little about that chapter, because there's like 20, 30 subsections. What to bring to your parents, how to drink, with your aunt.
Yeah. I guess that was what I kind of, that's my writing style. That's like where I actually got to like kind of be more of the comedic side of me and just sort of poke fun at the wine culture that surrounded me, not necessarily wine culture in the broader sense, but how I drink wine. And I guess this goes back to your millennial question, like, how do you drink wine? How do you deal with your family? Like, how do you sneak wine into a concert or do whatever? And sort of just applying it to how I drink wine and saying, hey, like if I'm drinking wine this way, I'm sure that there's lots of other people that are. And also too, a lot of that, like the stuff for families and drinking with like your boss and things like that. Those actually, a lot of that was also inspired by like readers of mine that would like write me questions being like, how do I, I got this question so many times. It's in the book where someone was like, what wine won't make me freak out at family functions? I'm like, dude, it's not the wine.
You mean from the alcohol or
sulfates
or red versus wine?
I'm like,
you just worried about that?
Yeah, well, no, it's just like, obviously, like you just fight with your family. Like, don't drink. Like, you obviously have issues with your family. It's not the wine that's causing those issues. Like, go to a fucking therapist. Like,
right.
So that chapter was really fun to write, and I just kind of. Yeah.
What was nice is after a ton of information, and not bombarding, but it's nice to like, all right, let's sit down and what do we do with this? And it's it's very funny and extensive, and that's why I think the book is good. One of the things you devote, one of the chapters you devote to is natural wines.
Yes,
and to me, it stood out because I know you a little from following you on social media that you're a natural wine drinker, and there's some good stuff out there. So you wrote this chapter. It wasn't overbearing. It was very, descriptive and everything. But let's talk about natural wines. I mean, how they're very important to you.
Yes.
I think the concept is important. Sustainable farming, natural wines. I think people, and you brought this point up, and you'll extend the point, but people just look at food like it's crazy organic, and then wine, they'll drink just any crap. So talk to me, give me your sort of view on natural wines.
So I think, well, to speak to your point about like food versus alcohol, I think that there's a real issue with American culture and our relationship to alcohol. And the reason that people do not look at like wine as an agricultural product is because we stronghold people into like not drinking until they're 21, and then we release them into college where they're binge drinking and not thinking about
stigmatized.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're developing these habits in people that cause them to like binge drink and not think about it because they're doing it to get drunk and have a good time, and like they're in college and partying, right? So they don't have to think about wine as an agricultural.
Were you doing that a little?
I didn't go to college, and actually I just smoked a shit ton of weed in college. Like the time that I was quote unquote in college.
All right, I didn't mean to divert.
No.
Continue.
So I think so. I think that that's a huge thing, is like just kind of bringing that to people's attention that, hey, like, you know, you can be at the farmer's market and be talking shit about like grocery store kale, and then you go buy a bottle of Andre at the corner shop store that is, those grapes that are in that bottle are made in the same ways that you're shaming the kale at, you know, at
Right.
Kroger. So, and so there's this huge disconnect, and I think it's really important to teach people about that, and like whether or not they like natural wines, that's their own thing. But I think that people need to.
What's to like about them? I mean,
For me, I just love how they taste.
But why? I mean, sometimes you're very descriptive and not a lot of words. You know, sometimes a picture, you know, tells a story. It goes deeper than that. They're delicious. They are.
No.
delicious.
Yeah, I guess.
But there's a whole karma to it to you.
Yes, there is. I genuinely believe, especially now with our current administration trying to just like burn our world to the ground and like get rid of our EPA and all these things. I think it's extremely important for us to be focused on growing, you know, being kinder to the earth, not using as many chemicals. I know there's a whole argument for chemicals, but honestly, like we haven't had like long-term studies on a lot of the chemicals that are being used. We don't know what they're doing to the land or to the consumer in a real way, I don't think. And that's scary to me. I also just think that I think that it's just better for the environment, in turn better for the consumer, and also just better for small business.
I just saw, because a lot of natural wine producers are smaller guys and supporting guys who do sustainable farming and no intervention.
Yeah, well, and also too, like those people. I mean, it's important to support those people, especially because they're penalized. You know, like if you think about like chemical farming versus non-chemical farming, why are we charging the farmer that does nothing to his land like thousands and thousands of dollars to be able to write that he has like organic grapes on his label, whereas like the person that's adding hundreds of additives in herbicides, pesticides, all sorts of shit, you don't have to say anything about that, and you're not. So it's like you're also incentivizing these corporations to use these chemicals. And there's these small guys out there that are putting their heart and soul and like mortgaging their homes and putting everything on the line to do things the right way. And I think it's really, really important to support them.
I agree with that. On a scale of 1 to 5, where do you think natural wine is perception-wise? Now, put that in the context of you go to a cool restaurant, there's a lot of wines. You go to a big fancy restaurant, there's not. You go to a cool wine store, there's a lot of wines. You go to a big wine store, there's not. I mean, I know it's making headway, but where do you think we're at?
I think that we're at like a 2.
Infancy.
Yeah, maybe a 2.5.
Yeah.
I think we're halfway there. I don't know if natural wine will ever be entirely mainstream. I just don't think that. I also think that a lot.
It may not.
It may not.
And it may have its niche and grow as a niche.
Yeah, and that's okay too. You know, I also think that there's a lot of things like, you know, we, especially in America, we are like the Coca-Cola consumer. We're used to very, very sweet things, which. You know, natural wines are not that usually. So I think we're like halfway there, and you know, we may make it to a 3 or a 4. I don't know. I don't. As it currently stands in like the environment right now, especially as I was talking about, like financially, it's going to be really, really hard to break. That won't. Yeah.
Promote or enhance any, you know, speed to the interest.
Also, too, like the amount of wine these people are producing is so small, you know, that it's going to be, it'll be hard to, you know, have it be super, super huge without more, or at least without more people making it and being able to sell it, in that we need to buy it.
So one last question on natural wines, and then we'll move on. There's an inconsistency to natural wines because of the nature of the way they're made, vintage to vintage, grape to grape. That I accept. Is there an inconsistency in quality? Do you find it? Like, you know, forget the vintage, but
no.
1 year it's good, another year it's shit. And like, why is this terrible? I mean,
there's definitely an inconsistency.
Is that a knock to them? They need to get better at that?
I don't know if it's a knock. I think it's
because there ain't no inconsistency consistency to like Kendall Jackson Chardonnay.
Well, exactly.
I mean, that's a formula, another story.
That's a formula.
And it works for them.
I think that natural wine is just really hard. Like I don't want to knock them. Also, too, though, but there's people now that are just like making natural wine because it's cool and like fuck off. Like if you're just doing it to be like, I see natural wine like any other wine. Like there's shit wines and there's good ones and there's people that
that's
are doing
the reality.
It. Yeah, that's the reality.
I agree with you.
It's the same.
There's
with
a little
everything.
more to it that can affect it, but you're right about that.
There's people that make good wine and people that don't make good wine. Just like there's people that make like good clothes or good food or whatever, and then there's shit of all that stuff too.
Right.
So I don't think it's fair. I mean,
I agree. All right, I want to ask you a couple more questions, then we're going to take a break, and I'm going to subject you to our wine list, and then we're going to taste a little wine. First, the two questions. Do women get a fair shake in wine? Wine world, wine biz, wine perception?
I can only speak. It's really interesting because since my now professional foray into wine has been basically from my couch. Like I sold a book and I had to become like a
nobody bugging you there.
Yeah, no one was bugging me there. But I will say that personally, I don't think that women get a fair.
You see it and feel it.
I see it and feel it now. Yeah, definitely. I mean.
You'll on the book tour. You'll gauge other things.
Well, once I was able to leave my house because I took on a full-time job while also writing a book, I encountered a lot of I encounter a lot of aggression from both men and women. People.
You bring up a good point because I either saw it in a quote or the book from women too.
Yeah, but
women can be as effed up towards other women.
Oh yeah,
that's not the brunt of the problem, but that one exists.
That exists too. I mean, so I can only speak from my own personal experience, but like, I don't think that anyone would be calling it cute if a man wrote a book, and that's what men say about me. Like, oh, it's really cute that she wrote a book. It's not fucking cute. It took me, a year and a half of slaving, writing 16 hours a day. You think that's fucking cute, motherfucker? Like,
that's right.
Like, that's not cute. Or, people. I think that
it's like going to Hillary Clinton and saying your hair looks beautiful today.
Yeah,
just because she's a woman.
Oh no, well, I get that.
Let's not get started.
Yeah, we don't have to do that. But I mean, I think that women are. I think that we are judged and we are minimalized and we are dramatized more than men are. I don't think anyone would be calling it arrogant if a man who didn't really have a thing with wine wrote a book about it. They'd be like, oh, he's ambitious. But me, they're like, she's arrogant.
The adjectives are unbelievable.
Yeah.
So what's a fair way to move forward? Just put your head down, do what you do, be passionate about it, work through all of that. I mean, it's
me personally?
There. Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot. I think I have a lot to overcome in terms of like what men and women in the industry and outside of the industry think about me.
Screw them, though. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is all I can do is like continue to be better, promote great wines, and honestly, at the end of the day, like what matters to me is that like my favorite winemakers know where my heart is and they know that I'm working on behalf of them and I'm doing my best and that's all I can do.
That's it.
And
you stay the course, keep your passion level high.
Yeah. I'm not going to let anyone
do what you want to do.
Exactly.
I agree with that. All right, last question and then we're going to break and do the wine list. I'm proclaiming you. I mean, you're a social media star. I mean,
that's so funny.
That's how I came across you. I mean, you could put that. I would, and correct me on this, I would say social media helped launch, who you are.
Absolutely.
So tell me, and there's a bigger effect on wine. How has social media affected wine, and how has it affected you? I mean, what are
man.
Because think about this.
Yeah.
10 years, 20 years ago when this stuff didn't exist?
I think it's both good and bad. Like, I think that I think it's great because I can promote natural wines and the wines I love and things like that, and that's great. It's getting more exposure to people that maybe wouldn't know about these wines, and not necessarily that they can find that exact bottle, but like if they go to their wine shop and ask for something like that, then maybe they'll get another producer, things like that. I think it's great in those ways. I also think it's kind of bad because it kind of creates these like wine trends where it's like with natural wine in particular,
there's good and bad discovery.
Yeah, exactly. And like, or it becomes a thing where it's like, oh, if this bar has it, we have to have it too. And like, oh, if this person's Instagramming it, we have to have it too.
It's almost like wine scores. Oh, yes. It's 98. I have to get it.
Totally.
Nothing to do with
any
real good or not. Do you like it?
Yeah. And for me personally, social media, I mean, we kind of spoke about this before, but it's one of those things where it annoys me. I know that people, I mean, I do enjoy it to some degree, but it's also very annoying because if you post a picture of a bottle, like no one cares. Like that doesn't matter. It's like it has to be like something like aesthetically pleasing, and it has to. Or
like you lying in your bed last night in your underwear.
I took that down. I was drunk last night.
You took it down?
I definitely took it down.
I'm glad I looked at it 10 times
oh my God.
before you took it down.
I definitely was like, oh man, I should not have
Did
had.
you really do that in a moment? But
Yeah.
that's who you are.
Yeah.
And I love that about you.
I do
And
a lot of-
nobody
I do a lot
didn't
of shit.
unexpect that, okay?
I know.
It's so funny you took it
I took it down this morning. I had like.
Hey, I'm trying to sell a book here.
No, I was like, oh my God, Marissa, like you should not have had that many glasses of sherry. Like you're an idiot. Like why did you do that?
so funny.
I mean, because sometimes you're just
I'm
like,
glad I
okay.
snagged you on
Oh
that.
my God, yeah, I can't believe you. 850 people
I'm
saw
telling
it.
you, you're a social media star.
God.
I'm one of your fanboys. You
That's
know.
great. Well, but that's like the bad thing. That's like that's
No,
like,
it's not.
It's kind of bad because then
it's sort of genuine and fits in for you.
It does, but then it's why people think.
But
I'm
that you
objectifying
said
myself.
good and bad, and
Yes.
there's a good to that and there's a bad.
There's a bad to that.
You'll deal with it.
Yeah, well, I'll just delete it. I just and like
So we
pray.
agree social media is sort of an important,
It is. Yeah, it is important, but it's also I think it's also a sometimes detrimental and also a really annoying responsibility on my end when I'm not drunk on sherry.
Sherry of all things.
Watching Forensic Files.
All right, so here's what we're doing. We're going to take a quick break. We're talking to, and I should have told you this a couple times before, we're talking to Marissa Ross. Marissa just wrote a brand new book called Wine All the Time. When we come back, we're going to subject Marissa to our wine list, and then I'm going to pop a little bubbly to celebrate Marissa's book release and get her take on that wine. So you're listening to The Grape Nation. We'll be right back.
This program is brought to you by Chefs Collaborative, a national nonprofit network with a mission to inspire, educate, and celebrate chefs and food professionals building a better food system. Chefs Collaborative members work to make sustainable practices second nature for every chef in the United States. Chefs Collaborative was founded in 1993 by visionary chefs including Rick Bayless and Alice Waters, who acknowledge the influential role of food professionals on our food choices, our collective personal health, the vitality of cultures, and the integrity of the global environment. Chefs Collaborative believes that the greater culinary community can be a catalyst for positive change by expanding the market for good food and helping to preserve local farming and fishing communities. Change menus, change lives. Learn more about Chefs Collaborative at chefscollaborative.org.
All right, we're back. We're with Marissa Ross. Marissa,
Thank God not.
go out and buy her new book, Wine All the Time. And towards the end of the show, we'll tell you exactly where and how to get it. All right, Marissa, I want you to answer our wine list. We ask our guests every week to answer a bunch of questions. We post them on our social media sites. I think people are interested in, what you're going to say to these.
All right,
They're
cool.
pretty basic questions. What are you drinking now? Like, what are you, not this second and not last
drinking.
night.
I'm like, you can see it's Pellegrino.
But what is there a wine you're obsessing over, or a region? Are you trying new things? I mean,
I've
what
been really into Sumol lately.
small producers?
Sumol. Is that how you pronounce it? I'm so bad at this. Is why I'm a writer, because I can't
Oh
pronounce
boy,
it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Spanish grape, it's Sumoll. Sumol.
Oh, okay.
Sumol, yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah, so I'm really into
I thought
that.
you were
right-
making fun of me.
No, I'm small too. No.
So Spanish wine, the grape,
yeah, the grape.
Sumol.
OLL. Yeah,
Okay.
two L's. And it was a grape that was primarily used for blending up until recently.
Red?
Yeah, it's a light red. It's almost like Gamay-ish.
Which you love. Can you give me a producer? Do you remember any? of them?
Yes, so Partida Cruz does one.
Partida Cruz, CRUZ.
Crues.
Cruz.
Or EUS. One of the two.
I'll
And then
look.
also, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Feneca Pareda? I think it's like FINECA. And then
Feneca.
Yeah, Feneca Pareda.
Okay.
Pareda. And I'm
Okay.
obsessed with theirs right now. They have one called Kronos that's just
Kronos with a K or a C?
with a K. And
and
it's,
that's Sumol from Spain,
Yeah.
and those are two. Okay.
Yeah, and they're, oh my God, they're they're mind blowing. Put them in the fridge.
See what I'm saying? We just dropped a little hot tip on our listeners. All right, next question. Favorite wine and food pairing? Something that you go back to, something you love.
Oh man, I always get asked this, and I'm just like, I don't put as much thought into food.
You have a section in the book on this.
I know I do. But if I'm personally, like in my daily life, like I just want gamay and burritos.
Okay.
Like that's all I want.
Okay, so
yeah,
the
you're
fair
right.
answer is you love gamay.
Yes, and it goes
which
with
is a
everything.
great one. It goes with everything. Burritos have a little heft to it, so the gamay could hold up, and you love burritos.
Yeah, I do love burritos.
What was so hard about that question?
Because I always want to say something that's not. I don't know. It's one of those.
You did.
I know.
Okay,
right?
gamay and burritos.
It is.
This is our 35th show. Nobody's ever said that.
Perfect.
Okay? You happy?
Yes.
And I'm going to lay down
I just didn't want
fair money nobody does. Okay? All right, let's talk about this. I ask our listeners, and a lot of people are based in New York because we're in New York, but I want you to do the LA edition and anything else that you think is important.
Okay.
Your favorite wine restaurant and or bar. A restaurant or wine bar where the service, the selection, the people are just impressive.
Yeah, I love Bar Bandini's like my home
What's
spot.
it called?
Bar Bandini.
Bar Bandini, Bandini.
Yep, that place
in LA.
in Los Angeles. It's in Echo Park, and I love it there. That's like my home base, kind of. I feel like. I also love Elf Cafe, which is actually weirdly across the street from there. But they have an incredible wine list, and they do all vegetarian, like Mediterranean food. So the natural wine just really goes well with it. And where else? And then Botanica that just opened in Silver Lake is incredible.
Is that huge space, or am I mixing that up with Republic or something?
Oh no! Yeah, that's Republique.
Republique.
They're
crazy open.
Yeah,
space.
that's a crazy open space. I don't leave the East Side very often. I'm like
no. Now,
I'm
do
sobbing.
you have a favorite outside of LA? From traveling or New York, you don't have to.
Yeah. I love Bar Brutal in Barcelona, which I think is like a
great food and wine.
Yeah, fantastic. They have these oysters there that are like just incredible. They're like called ceviche oysters. They have them like a little spice in them. Oh my gosh, they're so good. And that'd be probably my favorite. My favorite spot outside of.
All right. Do you have a favorite all-time wine?
Yes.
Like a birth wine, something that resonated, got you to it, first time you got laid, one of those wines. You know
yeah. No. I know exactly what you're saying. I guess if I could have, that would be like it's like the Foillard Côte de Pie. P-Y, yeah. That more, I know, yeah, I know.
So pretty simple wine. I mean, not an expensive wine, accessible.
Yeah, it's a Morgon. It's
so
beautiful.
Let's talk. So Foillard, Foillard,
yes,
is the maker.
Yes,
it's from Beaujolais, which is a part of Burgundy.
Yep.
And he makes a Morgon, which is Morgon.
Yep, and that's like one of the 10 crus of Beaujolais.
Right.
It's a bit of a heavier wine for a Beaujolais.
You like the heaviness?
I don't. It's not so much that I like the heaviness, but I just find that to be an extremely elegant wine.
And the Côte du Pie.
Yep, Côte du Pie.
Pie?
I always want to say pie because it's P-Y, and everyone's like, it's P, dude.
Okay.
And I'm like,
all right, so I think you can answer this question, and it's hard for people sometimes because I think you're out there. Not you're out there.
I'm definitely out there.
But you're out there. I always ask my guests, best wine around $15 retail. Yeah. My oldest kid's going to a dinner party. He's coming to your house. He wants to bring some good wine. Doesn't have a ton of money. Doesn't want to bring shit. Give me a red. Give me a white. Keep it in that 15-ish, under 20.
I would say probably off the top of my head, the La Boutanche line from Selection Massal.
Selection Massal.
Yeah, that's great because I think it may be 18 now, but it's $18 and
that's in the
range. Yeah, and they're
making
leader.
Multiple.
Yeah, and they have whites and reds and rosés, and now they have a sparkling as well in that same line, and they're all under $20, and a lot of them come in liters, so it's like a great deal. And then also, I guess you know what I love. Like I love Vino Verde. Like you can get a
Vino Verde is a white wine.
It's a slightly sparkling white wine from Spain.
Right.
And it's you can get a great bottle of that for $10.
Not sweet, right?
No, not sweet.
But the acidity the attack is right there.
Oh yeah,
right?
and it's slightly effervescent, and you can get a great bottle of it for $10.
Why do you like that? You just like the liveliness and freshness.
It's fun. I love like really high acid wines. Like I'm kind of an acid freak. So yeah, that in those ones.
So, last question, we'll throw it in. So based on that, favorite wine region? Is there a region that's producing? You can't say France. I mean, is it Jura? Is it Loire? I mean, are you finding that?
Are you talking about now or just like in all of time? Like, what's my favorite region?
No, now.
I think for right now, like I'm loving a lot of wines from Abruzzo, Italy. I think they're doing like a lot of really cool natural stuff in Italy right now that is being overlooked currently.
Give me a favorite.
My favorite would have to be Vini Ribasco. Is just that's like one of my. I love that wine.
What's the grape?
Montepulciano.
It is Montepulciano.
Yeah, and then they have a Rosso, like a straight red, and then they also have a Rosato that's
and
amazing.
Ribasco is the maker?
Yes.
And give me a price range.
That's like under, I think it's under 30.
Oh,
it's like in the 20s. It's still not.
So it's a great value.
Yeah, it's a great value, I think.
So you passed with high colors.
Thank you.
Okay?
I did it.
And you gave us some interesting tips, which is really
Thank you.
the point of all of that. Some very cool ones. All right, the last segment of the show is our weekly wine sip. Every week we taste a different wine on air. For our weekly wine sip this week, we're going to pop a pet nat to celebrate Marissa's book. I handpicked it. We'll taste the 2016 Cruise Wine Sparkling Valdegay from Rancho Chimilis.
Oh my gosh, this is one of my favorite wines.
So Gwyneth is going to help me. You're going to tell us a little about this wine while you get that opener over there and we pour it for everyone.
Oh, I'm so excited. So this wine is a Pétillant Naturel. So
which is what?
That means that, okay, so most sparkling wines go through 2 fermentations. And what
champagne.
Yeah, like champagne or Prosecco. And with because they go through first alcoholic fermentation and then they do a second fermentation where they add extra sugar and yeast to create the carbonation. But with a Pétillant Naturel, what they do is they take the first fermentation and they bottle it halfway through, so that way it creates natural bubbles and there's no second fermentation or added yeast or anything like that. This particular bottle is made by Michael Cruz, who's one of my favorite winemakers, and it's a really special bottle because Valdegay was a wine.
Can you pronounce it?
Valdegay.
Not Valdegay?
I don't know. Who knows? You're asking. I'm like known for pronouncing things wrong. Like I'm the worst. So
that's why I did a show, so I could pronounce everything wrong all the time.
Exactly. That's my next book, pronouncing everything wrong all the time. So Valdegay was a grape that was very prevalent in California up until the 70s when Cabernet.
It's called Napa Gamay.
It was called Napa Gamay, yeah, because it's so like light and refreshing. It can be made to a bit riper, kind of bigger wine, but so they ripped out like 70% of it for Cabernet, which I think is a huge mistake.
Which made your dad happy.
Oh my God, my dad was so stoked. So this wine. And Michael Cruz is an extremely special winemaker. He was a biochemist, and he's revolutionized California sparkling wine. California sparkling wine was like renowned as shit, and that's fine because most of it is
a handful of makers. It's
only
not like there were like tons of them.
No, yeah, and so Michael Cruz, not only does he make this pet nat,
he's crazy with varietals.
He has crazy
he's
varietals.
Not right, which is something. Cool.
I know he has a Saint Laurent pet nat. Which
do you like this one better?
I like
or the
this
other?
one better.
That's why I brought this one.
I know. I'm like so
both.
happy when I saw the bottle and I was like, I wonder if it's. I mean, I still love the Saint Laurent, and now what's really cool is that Cruz is helping a lot of California winemakers do sparkling wines as well. And it's,
you mentioned his other project earlier,
yes, and
which is separate from the Cruz Wine Company.
Yes,
and this once fermented pet nat, which is ultramarine.
Yes, ultramarine is in champagne method. But it's amazing, and he's like helped with Scribe and some other big producers or natural or low intervention producers in California, and he's just an all around great dude. I'm kind of obsessed with him.
This wine has a few days of carbonic maceration, and then I think he puts it in concrete. All right, so
wait, we should cheers because I'm going to
here's what we're going to do. All right. Do you have a glass, Gwyneth?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So we're going to first look at the color. It's a beautiful color. How do you describe that?
Oh, man. So I would describe this as if, like, if you took a sour...
This is why I brought Marissa in. Wait till you hear this. You're
All right.
going to have an orgasm. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, so if I could describe how this looks anyway, it'd be like if you took a Sour Patch Kid and like took off most of the sour stuff and it only had a couple freckles of sour salt on it, and then you stretched it out and took it up to the sun so it was kind of translucent. That's what it looks like, a red Sour Patch Kid.
Like a strawberry or a cherry.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's got like a pale pinkish red with beautiful small, medium bubbles.
Yep.
So visually, it's a gorgeous color with a nice little fizz.
It's so pretty.
All right,
God.
let's do the nose.
All right.
I'm getting a lot of red fruits, but I want you to take it from here.
So I'm getting a lot of...
And you have a highly trained nose.
This is... I do... Yeah. I have like a highly long nose is what I have.
Go ahead.
So for me, this kind of... And it's going to kind of tie into the Sour Patch Kid thing again, which I accidentally kind of always do. But for me, this is like a lot of cranberries, a little bit of strawberries, and then also that, like, if you took all that sour powder that's at the bottom of the Sour Patch, it has like a bit of a dusty, salty, sour smell to it.
I agree with you. At first, when I drank it, there was a little raspberry, but I don't get it in this one. I get strawberry, I get that tartness of cranberry.
Yeah.
I like that, and that little sort of sour note.
Exactly. Also, like... Yeah, just like a little bit
fruits.
of red fruits and like ocean breeze.
Yes. All right, let's throw it over the tongue now, and we'll do a palate analysis, okay?
All right.
I want to start with mouthfeel first. It's so good.
Oh, it's so good. It's so sudsy. It's like, it's not aggressive. It's just like really...
So, when you drink a sparkling wine, there's bubbles. Your first reaction was sudsy.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between sudsy and other? The bubbles are gathered? Do they foam up in your mouth?
They kind of foam up in your mouth and sort of feel like you're having like a...
Like they don't aspire to be champagne bubbles because it's a once fermented.
Yeah.
So there's sudsy, which is not soapy, sudsy.
Not soapy.
Okay,
It's
so the
sudsy.
mouth feel is sudsy. Do we look at pet nats and say medium, light, heavy? I mean, do you ever like...
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, for me, this feels like a medium bubble. You know, it's not aggressive, but it's definitely there. But also, I love how it reminds me of like, you know, the kind of bubbles that you would have like in a really good bubble bath, like the kind of bubble bath you dream about but you never actually get. That's the kind of sudsiness of it. Like it, yeah.
All right, so now let's talk about the palate. I would think a lot of what we get on the nose may translate to the palate, but let's see what else. So what do you get on the palate?
Lots. To me, I am getting some more raspberry notes, but for me personally, it's...
So wait, you're picking raspberry up on the palate that you didn't necessarily get on... Okay.
Yes. For me, the palate on this is... Hold on, I need another sip.
I need more in my glass.
I know. I was like trying to be like courteous, and now I'm like,
No. This is yours.
I love it. To me, this is still like a lot of like really crunchy cranberry. It's like if you took a really crunchy cranberry and rolled it around within like some raspberry and strawberry sea salt. If that's a thing.
No, I agree. The mid palate, like up on the top of my mouth,
Oh, man.
the cranberries are there. That tartness is there, not necessarily on the top.
I love it, and it has like a really cool... I like the finish on this wine because it hangs out in your mid... That acidity hangs out in your mid.
I was just going to say the acidity is good, right?
The acidity is incredible.
Right. It's not too light and it's not overbearing. It attacks you in the right way.
Oh, in the front when you first have it, and it just like it feels like it feels like in a really...
Go ahead. Spit
it
it out.
Like a really aggressive like kiss on the front end of your tongue, like just
go.
like someone just like just someone, you know, when someone just like plants one on you,
Yep.
and you don't expect it, but you're like, that felt great. That's what it feels like it's doing to the tip of your tongue, but not a French kiss, but just, you know,
Right. An enthusiastic kiss.
Yeah, like
Right.
my God, I have to kiss you.
So we got to wrap up soon. What would you pair this with?
I would pair this with.
I have some ideas, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have this with some sort of potato chip, even though I know that's like a pretty quintessential like champagne and potato chip sort of
bowl of potato chips, salty. This will cut through.
Yeah, exactly.
Now give me a food.
A food. I'm like, what are you talking about? Potato chips aren't food?
No, I totally get that.
I'm
but
teasing
we're not.
I'm teasing you. I would love this also with like a really thin wood-fired pizza. Like
Perfect.
something with like a really nice, like just real simple, like
hold
margarita.
Up to the char, the sauce. And
yes,
all that.
exactly. And especially if the tomato was a little, like if this tomato sauce was like a little bit sweeter, I think that this would be very nice. With some basil, yeah.
All right, so do we like this wine or do we love this wine?
I love this wine.
I love it too, and I am glad to drink it with you. It's more fun drinking it with you.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Than just cracking it open, even though I have like another 12 of myself.
Oh, you're so
come
lucky.
Over anytime.
Yeah, I'm like, give me some of those because I have to like beg bite and borrow, but
you
that's
know what's funny? I ordered wine, and they, if they hear this, maybe they'll yell at me. They sent me more wine than I ordered, and they sent me like an open L knife.
Oh, really?
I'm like, I guess,
Well, I think, who did you order it from?
Michael, not Michael Cruz, the other Michael.
Who's the other Michael?
He works at the winery.
I don't know this other Michael, but
yeah, but I hope he doesn't make me send it back. All right, Marissa, we got to wrap up. And I need you to help me give me some information.
You're not gonna Ross test it?
We're gonna Ross test it for pictures.
Oh, perfect. All right. I feel like I'm like burping on.
No.
I'm sorry. You're gonna.
All right, we're gonna wrap up because we got to get out. I told you it'd be hard to get everything in and out. All right, if you have a question, a wine happening or event, hit me up at sam@thegrapenation.com. That's Sam at the Grape Nation. Follow us on Facebook at The Grape Nation. We're going to post Marissa's wine list answers, which are great, and we're going to post info on our weekly wine sip, which we just tasted. Follow The Grape Nation on Instagram at SBenRuby. That's where we hashtag The Grape Nation. Twitter at BenRuby. And we just put our new website up, www.thegrapenation.com. Chock full of show info and guests, Marissa's wine list, pictures of her, all that
Not
other
in my
stuff.
underwear.
Now, Marissa, where can we find you? Two questions you have to. Where can we find you on social media? And then let's talk about where we can get the book.
Cool. Finding me on social media is pretty easy. It's just Marissa A. Ross.
Remember the A.
Got to remember the A because
at Marissa A. Ross, Twitter at Marissa A. Ross, Instagram.
Yep, for sure.
Any Facebook? No.
I don't really do that.
I do a Grape Nation.
I should
page.
probably start doing it, but I get so angry.
I'm surprised Gwyneth here didn't make you launch a
I have one. I just
book page.
Well, you know how political I get, so I try to just get away. I try to just stay away as far away from Facebook as possible because I don't want to get disowned by my family.
Good for you. Now the book. I'm assuming you can go on Amazon.
Yes, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes & Noble.
Booksellers?
You can get it. I mean, hopefully. I mean, it just came out, so I guess we'll see. Hopefully they're in brick and mortar.
We taped the show on Tuesday. The show will run Wednesday. The book is being released this week. Marissa's actually going to be at the Strand Bookstore, which is the coolest bookstore in New York. But from this point on, go on to Amazon or go to
Barnes
your
& Noble
bookseller.
or Powell's, wherever you want to buy books.
Right.
Wherever you buy the books, that's where you can get my book. I even saw it on Target recently, and I was like, wow, who knew?
All right, so good luck on the book. I wish
you.
you only success and that you sell a lot of books.
Thank you.
And
thank you for having me.
We're not going to leave here without you signing my book and us doing a Ross test.
Amazing.
But I want to thank our guest, Marissa Ross, author of the new book. This is the entire whole title. Wine All the Time. Oh, I forgot. What was it?
A Casual Guide to Confident Drinking. Come on, Sam.
There you go. I forgot to put that part. So Wine All the Time. We told you where you can get it. Thank you to our engineer, Vitor, and thank you to everyone at the Heritage Radio Network. Don't forget, it's our summer fundraising drive, so go to heritageradionetwork.org/donate. Skip maybe one bottle this week or a glass of wine at the bar and send us a little moolah so that you can help us, and maybe we'll save you from getting a hangover. I'm Sam BenRuby, and you've been listening to The Grape Nation.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content and to hear about exclusive events, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at heritage_radio. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be a part of the food world's most innovative community? Rate the shows you like, tell your friends, and please join our community by becoming a member. Just click on the beating heart at the top right of our homepage. Thanks for listening.